Miss McKee here again. Today for our spike time, we are going to be looking a little bit more at informational texts, but this time we're going to be looking at how those informational texts can be used to have you write a short constructed response. First thing you're going to do, take your pencil. Once again, you're going to put your teacher's name. If your teacher is Mrs. Thorpe, you can put Mrs. Thorpe. Something I noticed some of my students did is they wrote the wrong teacher's name. Do not put the name that I put if that's not your teacher. You're going to put your RLA teacher's name, and then you're going to put your first and last name over here. Okay, friendly reminder that we talked about being in the learning space. It is Thursday, so that means we only have part of today and tomorrow to get through. And so you have to be resilient, because resilient and success comes from how long you can stand to be in that learning space. So we want you to hang in there with us for a day and a half more, and then we all get to go to spring break and we get to have a really, really relaxing week. Okay, so let's get into it. Examples of what you will see on STAR testing. Now, I'm sure that your RLA teachers have shown you this, but it's just a nice reminder. So you're going to see two different types of prompts on the STAR test. You're going to be reading all kinds of text. You're going to be answering multiple choice questions, but you're also going to be responsible for writing a few things. And two of those things look like this red and blue box on my screen and the boxes that are on your paper. So what I want you to do is just once you pause the video, once your teacher pauses the video, I want you guys to have a conversation, and I want you to explain to your spike time teacher what these two prompts are asking you to do. And then you're going to write what that type of writing is called right here. And I gave you guys a hint because they each have 3 letters. Okay, because it's an abbreviation. So go ahead and pause the video, and I want you to explain to your spike time teacher what type of writing you're supposed to do for each of those. Okay, so if in your conversation you figured it out, that's awesome. But if not, that's okay. We're going to do it right now. So if it asks you to read the question carefully, enter your answer in the box provided, and it says, what is the author's main message? This prompt might be different, but it's going to say, support your answer with evidence from the selection. If it looks like that, it's asking for a short, constructed response, which we're going to go over today. However, if you get to a question, or when you get to a question and you see this pencil and you see the word essay, then you see here it tells you to read something, and it will give you a prompt within there. So should students be involved in deciding how money is spent in their schools? Why or why not? Then it tells you what to do. It says to write a well-organized argumentative essay. This word might be different on yours depending on your grade level. So if you see all of that, and then you see all of these little bullet points reminding you to have a claim and to organize your writing, which is all of the things that your teachers have been teaching you on a plan that looks like this, right? That is an extended constructed response. And so the way I teach my kids is that an SCR, an SCR, short constructed response, we answer, cite, explain, and that's pretty much what you're doing in these 2 body paragraphs in an extended constructed response. You're going to answer, cite, and explain in these, and then you're just going to add on your thesis and then restate your thesis. Seems simple, but we need to keep practicing that skill. But today we're going to do a little bit easier of a skill, and we're going to look at the SCR. So I'd like you to flip your paper over to the back, and you're going to see this page right here. It says pit bulls, dangerous or darling. Okay, so what we're going to do is, let me zoom in, sorry. Okay, we're going to read the text. And on Tuesday, we had talked about different text structures. So we said those text structures were description. We said we had compare and contrast. We have our sequence. So one thing to the next. That sequence. We also have our cause. Because this happened, there was an effect. Cause and effect. And then we have problem and solution. Okay. All right, those are our 5 text structures that we're really going to look at. We also talked about categorical, but we'll just kind of focus on these 5 for now. So after I read this, I want you, as I'm reading it, I want you underlining signal words that you see to tell us what the text structure is. Okay, that's how we're going to start. It's called Pit Bulls, Dangerous or Darling by Kyoki Pokoroni McKee. That is my dog. Here we go. Pit bulls have been labeled as a dangerous breed, causing fear and misunderstanding among many communities. The problem lies in the fact that these dogs are often judged solely based on their appearance and the actions of a few individuals rather than their behavior as a whole. The solution is to promote responsible ownership and education about pit bulls. By implementing stricter laws for dog ownership and providing training for both the dogs and their owners, we can change the perception of pit bulls. Communities can also host events to showcase well behaved pit bulls, demonstrating that they can be loving and gentle companions. Ultimately, changing the narrative around pit bulls will lead to a safer environment for both people and pets. Okay, so pause the video, let people kind of catch up, talk about your signal words, and as a class, decide what text structure is being used in here. Okay, the words that I noticed that stood out the most, I noticed the word causing, which made me start to think of cause and effect. But then I noticed that they were talking about a problem. And then also in the next paragraph, they were offering a solution. Okay. So there's all kinds of other little signal words that are in there. But if you, as a class, decided that overall this is problem and solution, then you hit the nail on the head. Good job. Okay, so just like on the front page where it gives you the prompt for a short constructed response in the red box, remember the short constructed response doesn't have a whole bunch of writing underneath of it like the ECR. So here's your prompt. It says, read the question carefully, then enter your answer in the box provided. What is the author's main message in the selection? Support your answer with evidence from the selection. Now, I know for a fact that 6th, 7th, and 8th grade teachers, RLA teachers, have all taught our students that when we answer by answering, citing, so providing text evidence, and explaining. So everybody can fill that in. And then go ahead and do one more step and write what they are. Answer, cite, explain. And the cite is the part where we find the evidence from the text. Okay, first thing you need to do is you need to look at the prompt. What is the author's main message in the selection? This is where you're going to practice stating that in a complete sentence. So you're going to say the author's main message in the selection is, and then you're going to decide what that is. So main message in fiction is theme, but really you have to be thinking to yourself, what is the author trying to get across to their reader? We know that they were using a problem and a solution text structure, and we know that when authors write informational text, they write it to persuade, inform, and then entertain is sometimes for informational text. Okay. So what's the author's main message in the selection? Thinking about those two things. I want y'all to pause the video and have a conversation at your tables. Okay, so if you said something along the lines of the author's main message in the selection is that pit bulls, let's say, should not be so misunderstood. It doesn't have to be exactly that. It could be something similar to it about how pit bulls are not as much of a problem as they are, as they seem to be. Okay. Now for your cite, this is where we've been teaching our students to start with something like paragraph blank of the text states. And then we teach them to put their quotes because we're trying to get them to find direct quotes from the text that are going to prove their answer. So you can pause the video, and as a class, you guys can try to find evidence from the text that supports the answer that either you came up with or that we did together on my screen. It's up to you. So go ahead and pause the video. Okay, for mine, I was looking at the underlined sentence in paragraph 2 that says by implementing stricter laws for dog ownership and providing training for both the dogs and their owners, we can change the perception of pit bulls. There were so many pieces in here that show you that pit bulls are misunderstood, but that's the one that I picked. By implementing stricter laws I apologize for picking the longest sentence there was to have to write out, but that's okay. Oh, and I have to put my paragraph number. So, paragraph 2. So far, my response, my short constructed response is the author's main message in the selection is that pit bulls should not be so misunderstood. Paragraph 2 of the text states by implementing stricter laws for dog ownership and providing training for both the dogs and their owners, we can change the perception of pit bulls. Now, the hardest part as a teacher to teach for me is the explain. And I know that students really struggle with that too. So when you think of the explain, you want to think of this as your final opportunity to show how the quote that you chose proves your answer. So it's kind of like this, like you're explaining how your site proves your answer. All right. And, there's multiple ways that we've given students as sentence starters to help them. One of them could be like this proves, or this quote shows, or the author uses blank to blank. So for this one, to maybe just kind of keep things simple, we could do in this quote, the author. Okay, now this is where understanding text structures can really be your friend. Because if we go back, what did the author do? The author offered up a solution to a problem, right? And in this quote, this is exactly what he's doing. He's giving stricter laws for dog ownership and providing training. Those are solutions to the problem, which is the perception of pit bulls. So I can use that in my explain. So in this quote, the author offers solutions um, to the problem in order to inform or persuade the reader that pit bulls are not dangerous, right? Okay, so I'm going to write that down. And you guys don't have to pause the video. You can just write it along with me. Or if you want to write a better explain than mine, please feel free. Okay, so in this quote, the author offers solutions to the problem in order to, what's the author's, it's either persuade, inform, or entertain. So in this one, you could say inform. I'm going to say persuade just because I feel like the author is trying to get people to take his side and think about how pit bulls are not as dangerous as they seem. So to persuade the reader that pit bulls are not dangerous. Or maybe you said something about to persuade the reader that there are solutions to pit bulls being seen as dangerous, anything like that. Okay. All right. Good job. I know this is a lot of work. Spike time teachers, and other content areas, this is a really good thing that you guys could be doing in your classes. If you want to help us out too, is teaching kids to answer, cite, and explain when they're reading something out of a text. Even if you don't want them to write it, they could just respond with it. We're really just trying to get our students to restate in a complete sentence the prompt and then be able to back up their answer with evidence from the text. That is the ultimate goal. It's a good way to get kids thinking critically, and it's a really good way to get them analyzing text and being able to support their opinions. sentence. So if you have some time left over, you can do this last one, which I think is really important. And that says to read the question carefully and answer your answer in the box provided. You're not writing the whole SCR right now. You're only going to practice restating the answer. So you're just going to write one sentence right here. And the prompt says, what is something you appreciate about your spike time teacher? So here you're going to say, something I appreciate about my spike time teacher is, and then you're going to provide your answer. Make sure you capitalize your first word and that you are putting a period at the end of your sentence.